It's a miracle in the desert. It's a wet Laguna Seca. We were anticipating rain for the 5th round of our Simufur iRacing GT3 Championship. We seem to have just missed it. No matter, as it is still a wet track, it will prove a challenge for all of our drivers to navigate. Welcome to Simufur.
Yeah, welcome to the 5th round of Simufur's iRacing GT3 Championship. As you hear from the commentary booth, that was Denak. I am Newbie. We are a man down this time around, so Denak's going to be the one taking control, and you'll be hearing the both of us this week. And we are supposed to get wet, as Denak has said, but it's pretty dry here coming down into qualifying. Yes, we are joining the grid at the start of qualifying. But as you can see here, 85% chance of rain. That was unfortunately a lie. We are expecting a pretty dry track and a pretty dry session moving forward from here. But it doesn't mean that the track is not dry. It's dry at all. There is still some wet patches as well as a very green track, so you won't see much rubber around. And you'll see that there are some places that might be pretty sketchy. But the spray has died down. There is no spray right now as drivers are coming down the grid, as you see here following KD. But doesn't mean that things won't go south anytime soon. The track is pretty gloomy. Rain will come back whenever and ever, as we see the radar if it shows up. But for now, the grid pretty strong here. 20 drivers in this round, so it's gonna be pretty good as we look into the standings. If we could, from the points that we had last week, we see that Plasma has improved, has climbed up in the standing. Currently P1 with 78 points. Walkman will have to do some pretty hard lifting to get that position back. Klaus, no slouch as well, 9 points behind, as you see here. Some sprays do see on the track, especially on Sector 3, but coming back into the standings, Guyando P4 is reported to be quite struggling here at Laguna Seca in the wet track, but fortunately for them, the track is drying up, so maybe they are able to pick their pace up again. But that just means that with this semi-wet track, battling is going to be very difficult, as if you're off the racing line, it just means that you might get a very compromised line. So better to just stick behind and just force it and sit down for anyone else. Inigo Lopez in P6 might have a fight with Fez, who is pretty new in this in iRacing's wet sessions. So good for them, a benefit for them this time around with not much heavy rain, is that they don't need to worry too much about how scary iRacing's rain physics are. They are pretty realistic and they are very scary for sure. Josiah is back with us this time around in P12, hopefully getting points. But we do see that both Mercedes drivers of Plasma and Josiah struggling a little bit on the weather track. Obviously, with a weather track as well as a very weird sector here, gonna be very benefit the mid-rear engine cars likes of McLaren and the Corvette, so it's going to be interesting to see where they show up. As for any new drivers that we have here, we do see a new driver here in the name of Xavier, originally called him MN_. So glad to see them on the grid, but it's very nice to see that we still have a very full grid on Laguna Seca despite being announced as a wet track. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things will end up. As we look into what's happened at qualifying right now, we see that KD in P1 setting a 122.76, one of the fastest times we have in for this week, for currently tonight. So definitely, I think with the drying track, we're gonna see faster and faster times as the session goes on. But in order to get the faster time, drivers definitely have to put more rubber on it, as well as clear all the standing water, especially in Sector 3. But the McLaren is still showing that it's pretty strong here, as following behind we have two Lamborghinis in the likes of Tombstone and Guyando, setting 23.4 as well as a 23.45. Both pretty strong times. Guyando just picked up P2. So as you see here, very, very, very favorable to the mid-rear engine configuration, as you see the likes of, I think that's a RNG Mercedes preparing to come out of the grid. But as you see here, following Guyando down into turn 3 here, still pretty struggling for grip as they come run wide for turn 3 and turn 4. Very interesting to see how they will take turn 5. It is a pretty drying track. I think the standard racing line will be taken, as they do, but I think with how the grip is, you might not want to deviate too much on the racing line. I think they are all on slicks right now, which I think will be the better choice, as there is not much standing water. Turn 6, the notorious pump there. Make sure you don't run too wide, or else your lap will get invalidated. Regarding corkscrew, I think for the most part, the drivers are expecting a really, really solid dry track. It's only down into sector 3 where you get some spray, and that's when drivers get a little bit sketched out, get a little bit worried that things might happen. But for now, seem pretty solid for a regular track, regular run here at Laguna Seca.
Indeed,
Oh,
it has
plasma.
been.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to be saying that you
Yes,
could also let me have a turn at speaking here, but yeah, it's been a very interesting lap from Guiando here so far. I had an off track going off the exit of turn 5, I believe, which did invalidate their lap time, and they're not going to be on running up anymore here. But we do have our new pole sitter of Plasma currently sitting at a very dominant P1 position at 22.0, a whopping 5/10 off Klaus Diamond currently sitting in P2 here. So it's looking to be a very typical dominating run here from Plasma tonight, and also a dry track. We were promised that raid earlier, but I don't see a spot already anywhere here.
Yeah, definitely not. The weather radar looks pretty clean as well, so it's going to be very interesting to see how I think everyone, despite doing a lot of wet practice, I hope some drivers are pretty familiar here in the dry track. Obviously, with Plasma being the most seasoned veteran around here, they are going to be the favorites. But Klaus and Walkman both are going to be very grateful that there is no rain here, as they will be. It'll be a closer chance for them to fight for the position in front.
Absolutely, indeed. And looking at our current times so far, everyone's been able to run in about 122s in the top 10 here so far. And it's going to be looking to be a very tight fight between Katie Fox and Fez Fox at the moment. The two Foxes of our grid here. Surprisingly enough, despite them both sharing the last name Fox, they are not indeed related, but I'm sure they're going to be having some nice, tough battles here on the grid here. Looking further down the grid, we do see some improvements here. I think it's going to be coming up from Inigo Lopez, also known as Suzuka Shark here. Now going through the, I think it's going to be, turns 9 and towards 10 and towards the final course of the final section of the track. You're hoping to get a bit of an improvement on the lap time to see if they can just get that exit just right. Zooming. Actually, I was been thinking that was the entirely different section of the track. They're actually going to be now heading towards turn 4 and turn 5 towards that corkscrew corner here. And with how dry the race is looking like here, we do hope that everybody's going to have been preparing both for dry and wet running here, but we will see if there's going to be any rain coming up on the forecast for the actual race, which could prove to make an interesting strategy choice for our drivers.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting strategy choice, but unfortunately the weather radar does show that's going to be pretty empty. We are expecting low 3% chances later on in the day, but for now, especially for the next hour at least, we are at most expecting a 3% chance of rain. So unfortunately, the Simufur curse sustains itself, and we are still going to have a dry track despite an 85% chance of rain today.
Absolutely, indeed. But with about 11 minutes left of our qualifying to go here, this at least gives an opportunity for our drivers to get some nice good lap times here on the qualifying session. And it's probably going to be a sigh of relief for some of our drivers as well, because the weather simulation in iRacing is very advanced. If it's going to be raining, it is absolutely going to be affecting how you're driving here. Whereas in other simulators, like in ACC, if the track is wet, it does indeed lower your grip. But that's about all that it does here. You can still take your normal racing line, you can still just brake a bit earlier, drive a bit more carefully. But in iRacing, it's simulating all of the different effects of the water with puddles, lowered grip, and especially with the usual racing line being very rubbered up in the wet, that becomes a very, very low grip here. So that would force our drivers to choose alternate racing lines here to maximize that grip. But without any rain on the track here, that's going to be maybe a sub relief for some of our drivers, because it is certainly a challenge for them to handle that.
Yeah, and speaking of alternate lines, given that, as you said, all things are pretty much simulated here, the alternate lines here might be a problem for drivers trying to find a battle, trying to battle for positions here, because even in a drying track, when you're on the alternate line, you might see yourself losing more grip than you might think, and that's going to compromise your ability to fight for positions, and that's going to be annoying when you're falling behind with other drivers. So I think in this round itself, and with these kind of track conditions, you gotta make sure you qualify good, or else you're gonna stuck behind a pretty long train, and that's not gonna be favorable in Laguna Seca. Pretty hard to overtake, especially at the corkscrew. And once you mess up, you really mess up here. The sand does not hold back in terms of affecting your pace.
Absolutely, indeed. And if it's going to be a rain session in the race session here, I did notice also in my own testing that if you end up going off track and into the gravel, there is a serious consideration that you might even get stuck in the grass. I had a personal experience when I was going off into the exit of turn 2 here, a very tight hairpin, where if you overshoot the corner and I got into the gravel, I actually was not able to recover the car anymore. I had to really crawl it out of the gravel trap here. So that could be also something these drivers will have to consider if they end up racing a bit too hard in the race conditions, in the wet racing conditions here, but we'll have to see what's going to be happening at the end of this 9-minute qualifying session here. Looking at our tap times here, we have seen another improvement from Plasma able to get a 21.9 in there. Just got to be crossing the finish line to see if they can get another improvement. Let's have a quick look here. No, they're currently on their out lap, so they're not going to be getting a lap at the moment, but it does not look like Klaus Starmer is too far behind with about a 22.1, so there could be a possibility for some other drivers to challenge Plasma for a lap one. What do you think?
Well, I think given that it was a wet track, it would have shown that the front engine cars would have been struggling. But given that we have that chance gone, Klaus can still fight for it. Plasma will have to make sure that they stay on the dry line as much as they could, and you basically have zero leniency in terms of making sure you're on the optimal line. And Klaus being in the older Huracan might have a bit more work to do, but 2/10 isn't that much to gain back, especially in the caliber of driving in front. So anything will happen in the next 9 minutes or so, 8 minutes at this point, but it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle the track here as we see them coming down the corkscrew, taking a very deep line just to make sure they can maximize the exit. Hopefully not a 1x to invalidate lap time, but coming down to turn 9, pretty solid, pretty stable coming down into it. Maybe not maximizing the curves as much, but turn 10 coming down into the final corner. Oh, they slowed down a bit, so definitely not taking. Oh, I think it's their all lap, so it's going to be interesting to see how they had to get a new lap here.
Does not seem to be an improvement looking at their time so far. And we also had a question from chat about Fabio Starr, who is on our critical at the moment. They actually called Tombstone. I do not think they have been in with us in the previous rounds. I think they may have been in round 1 or round 2, but they seem to be having a pretty competent time here. Only about a 10th off of Klaus Steinman's sign of 122.1, but with another improvement from Plasma getting into a 121.7, it's looking very much like it's going to be another lone race for the resident Fury driver at the front here, but that's not going to be an issue for them because we're going to be having a lot of action down the grid here. We'll see another very close fight happening. I think it's between Zezors and Robbie Kelly down at P11, P12. They all need separated by a couple hundredths of a second here, so especially the mid-pack seems to be very tightly packed together here with everybody fighting for those last scraps of points in the top 10. So certainly something to look forward to doing the race here. And who do you think, besides Plasma being able to get another pole position and probably securing themselves another further lead in the championship, do you think it's going to be either Klaus, Fabio, or Wachmann who's going to be getting the second place in the qualifying?
Well, Tombstone definitely put up a pretty strong fight at the front of the grid last time around, but they're definitely not as close as we see here in round 5. So definitely going to be interesting to see where Tombstone fits between the grid. They are definitely going to be fighting in the top 5. That's going to be interesting to see where they end up. KD, who was commentating with us last time around, is now on track for this round. So it's definitely an extra driver to look out for. And given their pace in round 2 in Road Atlanta, they definitely are also one of the drivers that Klaus as well as Tombstone or Walkman definitely do not want to be up there just for the sake of fighting for the championship points. But with all the fighting, I think Plasma's going to be walking away here. But anything could happen. Plasma might run a bit wide, might get caught out with some of the puddles on track if the track doesn't dry up in time and in the race. And we'll see other drivers here fighting for positions as well. But as you said previously as well, Tombstone, Zezors, as well as some of the drivers here, it's not a predictable grid as we expected from last round. Zezors was pretty much fighting for top 10 last time around. Is currently pretty down south. Nope, they're now in P9, which is good to see. RK, we expect to be in front of the grid, is now in P12. And yeah, with some of the drivers maybe new to a pretty wet session here, but it's currently drying. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle the grid and how they'll toss up the standings and affect the standings for round 6.
You can also see a bit of a traffic happening here around Pescetti's car here. I think that was the McLaren of Katie Timberfox right behind him that was being caught up in traffic here. And that seems to be also an issue here on this track here, because the track is relatively narrow in terms of our overall profile here. So overtaking is going to be a challenge, but if it's indeed going to be a wet start here for the race, it's going to be maybe making things a bit easier for our drivers to battle door to door side by side here. But with about 4 minutes left to go here, I personally would hope there to be rain in the race. What do you think? Would you prefer it to be a wet or a dry race, personally?
I would have loved to commentate a very wet race, but unfortunately, the radar shows no rain, so it's gonna be a boohoo moment for us. But hopefully, the commentators, us, could make a miracle rain dance and have it happen. Hopefully, in when it comes to the next session. But for now, we can only hope. But yeah, a wet race would have been nice. We have seen grids, the grid tighten up, but we might have seen a few retirements, and that will be unfortunate for them. But as for now, drivers can have a sigh of relief and focus on driving a very narrow, very technical Laguna Seca. As you see here, as drivers come down into the corkscrew, as that's Freya in the 992 Porsche, the only Porsche on grid right now. Actually, no, that's true. That is still true right now. The only Porsche on grid. That's going to be interesting to see where they end up and how they could able to handle this track.
I do have to point out, we do have another portrait here of... actually, no, that was not a Porsche. That was the Lamborghini. I was watching the Brad showing here. Never mind. That is indeed the only Porsche of the grid here. But I was actually more talking about like your own personal experiences in racing. Like, race track, would you prefer a wet race or a dry race in terms of your own driving comfortability?
Well, I think for me, I'm going to go with everyone else. I would prefer a dry track, given that I'm still not as confident here in the wet as I would do in ACC, but dries, it's always interesting how the grid tosses up in the wet. So I'm kind of a half and half, especially in iRacing. I do love a wet session, but I know from the endurances that I've joined in that I'm not reliable in the wet, and that is not ideal.
Actually, I might be one of the ones on the opposite side of the spectrum here, because I do prefer myself to have an actual wet race here, because as a lot of people say in the racing sphere, rain is the great equalizer, where the actual differences between the performance of cars becomes less distinct. It's more just going to be down to how well you can drive in the red here. At least personally, rain wet weather driving is just fun. You get low grip, you need to manage your different racing lines, you need to manage your grip and your tires, and I just find that more interesting and more fun with the added excitement here. So I think that's probably going to be a minority opinion, because most of our drivers here are going to be preferring to have a nice dry race here. But I do remember a couple of drivers here in the chat beforehand hoping to have a wet race. But so with 2 minutes left to go here, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed if it's going to be happening here. Now we're going to be watching Katie Fox going now round on another lap of the track here. We don't have a lot of time left here. Looking at our time so far, Klaus has been able to get under the 122 lap times here. But Klaus again asserting his dominance with a whopping 121.6, so there's nothing stopping that Fury for sure.
Yeah, definitely nothing stopping that Fury. Definitely a Fury there in P1, but yeah, it's time and time again. The gap gets increases every time anyone tries to show any sort of challenge against Plasma. And Klaus, unfortunately, despite seeing the big gap, has to go for it. It's not just for P1. Klaus will have to hold on for P2 as well. As we see, Tombstones behind P3, only a 10th behind them, and KD as well. Both you see here a 1,000th of a second, having the gap between P3 and P4. So it's still a very tight grid to fight for, and it's gonna be anyone's game in the last as the minute 6 down. As we have seen, only half a minute remaining, so we have a very busy track here on a very small track, and I think we just have it just right. Oh, as you see a driver running wide out corkscrew. As you see here, I was gonna say a pretty alright size grid here for a very narrow track. It's gonna be interesting to see how the race start is gonna work out. It's gonna be interesting to see how the drivers' cars are gonna behave on the alternate lines, as we have a very green track here coming down into the race.
Because it's going to be a very sizable grid for Laguna Seca for sure, and with only about... We're actually going to be reaching the end of our qualifying session here, so now the last laps are going to be around. We now see Suzuka Shark crossing the finish line with a small improvement of a 23.9. That's not going to be enough for them to put themselves into the top 10, but a respectable result. And we're now watching on board with Robbie Kelly of the Tiggang Racing car here, now going down that long straight towards the corkscrew corner here. Let's see if they can get a nice run-up going around here. Right on the brakes, a bit of a slide on the entry into turn 8 towards the corkscrew, and I say, let's see if they're able to improve here. They don't seem to be as comfortable with the car here so far. I remember in previous rounds they've been able to get more to the top 5, maybe even the top 3 sometimes here, but it doesn't seem like Laguna Seca is really fitting there for Right 6 this time around.
Yeah, it's definitely not their strongest car, not their strongest track here, but any improvements. They do have a small improvement in Sector 4, so that might give them a little bit of a push as they cross the line with a 122.58. They do improve coming down into P7, so good to see them on the front. But yeah, as we see here, a little bit out of position for the TGR car, but hey, it's all about survival here as Josiah coming down to P9. Coming to turn 1, and that's their time, setting a 122.85. They will be pretty happy in where they are, but given their past experiences in their racing pace, they are pretty strong on the brakes, so they might see some improvements coming down into the start of the race. I think that will be an interesting driver to look out for.
Yeah, that's going to be now bringing our race to qualifying session to a conclusion. It is indeed confirmed. It's going to be Plasma getting a dominating result here with a very strong 121.58. This is securing the pole position with Klaus Diamond able to secure P2 spot with a 21.93. We still have a couple of cars just rolling around into the pits here so far, but let's see if we can get ourselves the racing grid here shown up here. Actually, no, we did seem to be having some technical difficulties. We're going to have to wait for our qualifying session to finish fully before we can see our actual race start here. But look at to be some very, very cool close racing, especially towards the... yeah, there, we're going to see our qualifying results here. So, Newbie, take it away.
Yeah, as we usually are used to, we're going to see Plasma in P1, Klaus in P2, Tombstone cutting in P3, and KD at P4, rounding out the second row of the grid. Walkman will definitely want to try to overtake P4 and P3 to get near Klaus, but that's not where they want to qualify here at P5. Guendo P6, pretty weak on the weather track, but pretty strong here after the track has dried up. RK in P7 definitely will want to defend from Faz Fox, the Simufur car at P8. Josiah at P9 comfortably where they want to be, but any position is positions as they want to get away from Vex, which is now in P10, the first Blue E car on the grid, followed by Zzors in P11. They will definitely want to improve a little bit, but as they are pretty par for the course already are. Jack Mace in the Firebrand Spitzer Motors car in P12. They weren't here last week, so it'll be interesting to see where they end up this time next time with how the track goes, and as well as how narrow this track is. Laguna Seca usually has some incidents coming down, especially to turn 5. So it'll be very interesting to see how things go. And P13, we have Inigo Lopez on the grid, the second Blue E car, as well as Pasquetti in P14. The first RNG car for the week on the grid. So pretty strong driving for the Mercedes, but can definitely go further up as other Mercedes drivers are in front. Aspirit, the first Mustang of the week in P15, the one and only Mustang on the grid, unfortunately. Mustang is pretty strong, but it seems like Aspirit is going to have some work to do to wrangle that horse around. Xavier, MNU underscore, in P16 right now, the first time on the grid, so glad to see they're having P16 as the car starts to roll away. Anton Bursbo, as well as the teammate Hakio Itsumetsa, both side by side P18 and P19. And we have Zim in P20 closing off the grid for round 5 at Laguna Seca.
Yes, and now with our cars rolling out the track for the outlap here, it's going to be again a dry track. So despite all of our hype, all of our excitement for having a wet race here, it is indeed looking to be a very bone-dry Californian race here tonight. We might get some rain here later on in the race here, but so far it seems to be a very cut and dry race for all of our competitors now getting ready for their first laps around Laguna Seca.
Yeah, as you see here, Plasma now in front of the pace car. As you see here, Klaus as well, very eager to be side by side next to Plasma, just to make sure they have a good run on the second row, not the second row, on the right lane, just to make sure they get a good run on Plasma, just to make sure they get a good fight, just so that Plasma won't run away. But I think that fight's gonna be a little bit futile as things go by, but anything can happen as drivers start to warm up the tires, warm up their brakes, and also as well, it's a good time to see and observe the car in front to see if there's any spray on the alternate line. The track is still pretty gloomy this time around, but the weather radar is showing nothing. So I think the drivers that have seen the weather radar before the race are going to be at ease, but it's still a pretty good track. So tensions are still high coming down into the corkscrew. Hopefully the drivers can fit around here. We do not have ghosting as we usually do in ACC, so we are expecting drivers to be extra careful just to not have any damage here, but coming down a few corners, it's going to be a start of the race.
It's also going to be a bit of an upwards challenge for Walkman, who's currently starting the race in P5. Not quite the result they would have wanted here to have their chance at keeping up the lead of the championship here. But now we're going to be going out around a couple more corners, so now it's going to be the safety car peeling away from the track. And that's going to be all down to Plasma to get themselves the maximum best possible launch here, now going around the final corner and ready for the race. So it's going to be now cars going side by side, 2 by 2, into that start here. It's going to be waiting for the green light. It's going to be Plasma already heading off here. It's going to be with a massive launch here, but already Plasma and Tombstone going side by side into the main corner here. It's going to be putting the corner side by side into that down here corner here towards Andretti here, being with Plasma somebody here, but it's going to be Klaus Steinman and Tombstone here going side by side again. That big hairpin move, it's going to be a bit of a contact here between the two cars here. That's going to be now Tombstone up in the lead of things here. Everyone else here able to get here nice and clean here. But it's also going to be Kenny Timberbox now right behind him. It seems to be a bit of an all-star, but yeah, it's going to be Plasma. Plasma's off. He's lost a bit of timing. That's going to be him down a position. How hoping to fend off that fast one. Katie, Walkman, Giando from a lot of cars had a very mistake. It's going to be Walkman off. It's going to be Klaus off into the wall. It's going to be a big hit. Oh no! Right at the best possible opportunity. That's going to be the rear bumper of the car off, and a massive damage, and at the absolute worst start for Klaus after such a strong launch.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for them, but luckily for them, they do have a fast repair for this incident, so definitely have, as you see, multiple cars are off here, so definitely a very worrying start for the Laguna Seca for round 5, but a little bit expected. But hopefully Klaus is able to call back later on. As you see here, RK9 P5. As you see here, just to catch up on everything, Tombstone 9 P1, Plasma 9 P2, KD 9 P3, and Walkman 9 P4. All drivers a little bit unexpected from the Mercedes, but currently they will definitely have to work hard to call it back. Tombstone's going to work extra hard to make sure that Plasma stays behind them. KD currently now right behind the Mercedes, going to try all their hardest to make sure they stay on the back of the Mercedes, but that's going to be pretty hard to do if Plasma is able to overtake Tombstone already right at the back of the Huracan. So it's going to be pretty strong for the driver. It's going to be a pretty strong fight for Tombstone ahead of them, but they have to do it just to make sure that things get spicy. If not, Plasma's just going to walk away with this race.
Plasma's certainly not going to be giving up that position easy. He's already caught up right to the back of Tombstone here towards the turn 5 corner here, heading towards the infamous corkscrew corner here. Let's see if they can just get clawing a little bit closer to that Lamborghini Huracan right ahead of him. Just see if they can. It's not going to be the easiest for Plasma to get past him with how tight and twisty the track is. We also saw a bit of an overtake, which is happening between Robbie Kelly and Giando happening here down towards the track. It's going to be then going side by side through these corners here. Oh my God! It's going to be a very side squeeze over down to the corkscrew corner here with Giando and Josiah Mosqueda going side by side, still hoping to have a challenge here. With Josiah now on the inside going down to turns down 9 and towards the turn 10. He's still going side by side with now Giando holding up on the inside towards turn 10 and going on just barely squeezing wide. He almost touching the gravel here. So very close fighting between Robbie Kelly and Giando and Josiah. Just again still going side by side. Oh, and on the base, and that's going to be a drag race with the front of that Mercedes power, hoping to get a lead on the Lamborghini going right ahead there. They're just not giving up at all, and with now also the McLaren of Westfox right behind, they're going to be just fighting tooth and nail for that corner. Now again going side by side, going into turn 2, but again Josiah now with the inside, hoping to finally get a work around here, but it seems like after almost half a lap of fighting, they finally get a car. Well, actually, I think we see Walkman hard. Yeah, that's Walkman off. Walkman's one off the track, and he's lost several positions again. Again, a catastrophic incident for the drivers. We'd see a lot, despite no rain at all here. It's going to be cars just dropping like flies left and right.
Yeah, definitely very interesting things have happened during this opening few laps of round 5. We do see damage on Walkman. Not sure what has happened. We're going to take a look back and see what has happened here. It's that Katie that has closed the door. It has a small error by Walkman and KD, and that has caused Walkman to just get pushed off onto the track. Not sure what those two have done, but gonna be interesting to see how Walkman's gonna call back, as KD now pretty far back from Plasma, and that's not gonna be ideal for Plasma. Ooh, Walkman almost clipping the rear bumper of F-Spirit, but currently still going strong and definitely wants to claw back that position and climb back up that come up the standings just to get back those points that they just lost.
Yeah, the stewards are not going to be looking happy at that instant at the end of this race here. We're not going to be Walkman going on a big recovery drive. Now going dive, a deep, big dive into that last corner, just pushing F-Spirit wide, barely getting a bumper ahead of them to get it back up into P9 position here and getting a pass. F-Spirit. That's going to be now Walkman going right up into the rear bumper of Suzuka short here. Now trying to have a challenge going up into turn 2. It seems like Suzuka is just conceding that position and realizing there's going to be a faster car ahead of him. So better to just fight again for another day here. So it's again got to be hopefully a good recovery drive for Walkman here. Now chasing up back up into the field here. And speaking of battling here, up into the front here, Plasma has been able to get away from Katie and Robbie Kelly behind them, but they've still not been able to get past Fabio, currently leading the race here. So a very rare opportunity for Fabio to actually steal a race win here from Plasma.
Well, it could be, but also you have to remember that Plasma also plays the long game a little bit. They might try to just save a little bit of midfield, save a bit of the tires for the later sections of the race. Tombstone himself definitely is going to be, I expect, pushing extremely hard compared to Plasma, and Plasma is just going to sit back, relax, think about what's going to happen in the next hour or so. Currently 5 minutes has passed from the hour mark, and just with that, they might just figure out where to overtake, how to overtake, think about fuel, tire strategy, just so they could get away from KD themselves, because if they fight too much with Tombstone in front, KD might have an opportunity to close up the gap, and that's not going to be ideal for Plasma. Oh, as we see a driver going off into the barrier. Who's that?
That looked like a big hit. I think that may be the car of Zedzor here. Let's see it immediately on the replay, what exactly had happened here. So we can get a quick look up on that. Let's see, so they're just going down the main street here towards to the Corsica corner, and they just missed their brakes, and just a big hit into that tire barrier. That car is going to be stricken and lost after that hit. I'm not quite sure what happened with the car to them going that fast, and they almost collected Xavier and Klaus in the process here. So lucky for them to escape that incident here.
Yeah, Xavier also having damage on the car itself. Not sure they definitely have picked up some damage from scrapping with other drivers and just then going a little bit too greedy on the inside and scrubbing the wall. Definitely do not want to take too much damage here, as the front bumper is pretty important in generating grip for the front tires, and with a track like this, you definitely need all the grip as you need.
Yes, indeed. We're also going to be watching a fight happening between the cars of Vex and Pescetti up in P12 and P11 here. They've been going a pretty big fight here. Actually, there's going to be also Suzuka and F-Spirit right ahead of them, so a pretty dense four-way fight here for the last of the top 10 position here. Now then going down the course route in a nice orderly fashion here, but it seems to our cars have spaced out a little bit here, but with Suzuka, actually, apologies, Vex right at the back of this pack here, they seem to be eager to hopefully catch up to their fellow teammate Blue E driver of Suzuka right ahead of them, with Pescetti also having a pretty nice climb here. I think, yeah, it was Pescetti and F-Speed who started several positions down here, but with all of these incidents and crashes happening all around here, they've been able to gain up 3 and 5 positions respectively, and now up into the fight for the top 10 here. We now see also Peschetti's car here chasing up down that big heavy Mustang right down, going down turn 1 and towards the Andretti hairpin corner here, hoping to get a little tiny bit closer here, but it's going to be a challenging drive for the Mercedes driver here for sure, with the low aero of the Mercedes package.
Well, yeah, the Mercedes is pretty much a handful. They are pretty aero sensitive, so with such a big car, the Mustang in front, basically hiding their view, you think that the Mercedes is big enough, the Mustang's doubly as big, so how nice the car is sounding. It's going to be a pretty interesting fight between the two of them, but I think they might just want to play the cards right, maybe just follow Aspirit, maybe see how they could pressure Aspirit into making a mistake. They were pretty weak at VIR, as we see here, Tombstone and Plasma going side by side, Tombstone going defensive. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, if they want to retain, they don't want to get away from KD, but it's P1 that Tombstone is fighting for right now, but Plasma already on the back, pretty aggressive. They might have a run on the back start finish straight. Let's see here. No, Tombstone in the Huracan has a stronger run, so definitely a higher downforce setup in the Mercedes. But as you see here at the end of the straight, is climbing slightly, but that's not enough for turn 1, as you see Plasma patiently waiting behind. Oh, fast around the corner, so Plasma knows where he can overtake, but for now, sitting patiently behind just to see how Tombstone reacts to it all.
I think there was a bit of a peek that Plasma made into the corner here to try to get ahead of the Lamborghini Huracan of Fabio ahead of them, but that did not quite manifest here, with Plasma again having to slot behind them and hoping to have another chance at getting a run up. And Plasma does seem to be the car with the faster pace of the two competitors here at the moment. It's just going to be down to Plasma hoping to get that right opportunity, force a mistake from Tombstone here, and get past them again. Them just inching closer and closer down towards the fast left-hander corner of turn 6, and now heading up the hill towards the course grid. Plasma lost a bit of speed here in that turn 6 here, so they're not going to have a chance at making a ascent into the course grid here, but they are inching closer. They're absolutely making sure to put the pressure on that Lamborghini and force them to make a mistake.
Yeah, and also with how Tombstone is reacting to it all, they might be trying. They're trying to cover the attempt from Plasma in case that anything does happen, but with that, they are compromising their exit, and Plasma is inching ever so slightly closer every single lap. But as you see just now, turn 6 is one of Plasma's weaker points. To be fair, I think Plasma is also just playing it safe, given that how blind that corner is and how narrow of a margin that corner is. Plasma would just want to back off and get a better run for the corkscrew, and he does get a good run at turn 1, but thinks better of it right now. I think Plasma is just making sure they don't overextend themselves. They could be aggressive, they could push Tombstone away, but that's just a risk that Plasma does not want to take. They just want to make sure that they are as fast as they could be behind someone else, and just make sure that they could just finish the race strong.
And despite these two competitors fighting tooth and nail for the top position of the car here, they've been able to get quite a sizable margin to the P3 and P4 cars of Katie Fox and Robbie Kelly behind them. So there's not going to be much of a worry for them of losing too much time and risking themselves being overtaken by the cars behind them. So it's just going to be seemingly a two-horse race for the lead here. Now it's going to be Plasma getting, again, very close to the bumper of that Huracan going on turn 6. Going a bit wide on turn 6 here. That's going to be a track limit warning for them. And again, losing a tiny bit of time. So they're, again, not going to have a chance to make a set in turn 1 here. And again, they're going to have to wait for another lap for another opportunity here, but we're going to have to back to their fight here, because we see a fight developing here between Festfox and Giando here, currently fighting for P6 position here. That's going to be them going down the corkscrew corner here and hoping to get a bit of run up on here. And with the now the track being fully dry here, it seems like McLaren are the favorites for the for like a good track car here for these conditions.
Yeah, the McLaren is a pretty long wheelbase car, so definitely a pretty good pretty stable car with how undulating these corners are, as well as how long and sweeping these corners are. So definitely a pretty stable car to be driving. It's pretty the downforce package on the car is also pretty strong as well, given that it's new 720S Evo, and as such a pretty strong car to be here. KD and Fez have both shown that you can extract pretty strong and pretty fast pace out of these cars. So definitely a favorable car, but doesn't mean that the rest can't do it. As we see here, Josiah, what's happened there? No, that's Giando. Unfortunately, I think I spun on T2. That's definitely need to be reviewed in a bit, but for now, they have dropped down into P8 as you see what's happened between them as well as Josiah. What has happened here? Maybe a little bit too greedy on the throttle, and they just spun themselves around at turn 2. That is definitely a corner that some drivers are struggling with, and given how hard they are pushing, they might have to just let out the tires a bit too much and has spun, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is indeed going to be the challenge of these GT3 cars, especially even though it is not going to be a wet race here, these cars are not forgiving at all on these exits here, especially towards the very tight hairpin of turn 2 here. You can very easily just push the throttle a little bit too hard and spin your car around, as we just saw happen with Giando. So that's going to be giving Robbie, Josiah, Festfox, and Walkman a nice bit of fresh air to just relax and get back on the racing here. But we're going to be seeing a fight developing here between Josiah and Robbie Kelly. Josiah now getting right up into the rear bumper of that Ferrari 296, the only Ferrari 296 of the grid here. Now going up on the major. Let's see if they can get close enough here to get a run up going down the long straight towards turn 2 here. We're going to have to watch them very closely here. Looking on board with it. Josiah getting very close to that bumper of the Ferrari 296 here. Almost scraping the rear bumper rear bodywork here, but not quite able to find him because that move to happen here. But it's gonna be some. Josiah seems to be the car with a better pace here. They did indeed qualify a little bit higher than Robbie Kelly in the qualifying here. So it's gonna be now down to Josiah, hopefully getting up into the getting up past this car and hopefully getting back into chase here to Katie Fox, who has actually been driving so far pretty alone here with nobody else to challenge them. So let's see if they can catch up to the McLaren up ahead.
Yeah,
also seeing a fight developing between Tombstone again. Plus, we're making a move up into the corkscrew corner here, but again, they did not get that scent made here, and Tombstone just managing to close the door on the Mercedes car behind him, but this fight is definitely developing with these two as well. It seems like it's these corkscrew moves here that Plasma's mostly trying to make here.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see the two of them pretty strong, still fighting pretty strong here. But Tombstone showing that they do have pace compared to VIR, and Plasma finally has someone to fight for this time around. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where Tombstone and Plasma end up for the two of them. But as you can see here, with them two fighting, KD has already gained a second here from 6 seconds of a gap, now back down to 5 seconds of a gap. So they really have to think about, Plasma has to think about where they're going to fight. If they continue to fight like this, KD's going to chase up, and RK, right, as well strong behind them, is going to have a chance for maybe having a fight for the podium in case the two of them have an incident. You can see here walls here at Laguna Seca, pretty narrow, pretty close to the track, so any runoff here is not ideal, as you see already Z-Zords already slamming into the wall at the corkscrew, and also some of the drivers that run wide, always nearly kissing the wall, so definitely not ideal. Yeah, incident here.
Yeah, we do see also another mistake from Plasma going up into the exit of turn 6 here, not able to get that send mate into the corkscrew corner here, which seems like that seems to be the weakness of Plasma here compared to Tombstone, who seems to always get the better launch of the turn 6 here towards the corkscrew corner down this main straight here, and that could be down to the characteristics of these two different cars here, with the agile mid-engine Lamborghini able to navigate that corner a little bit better than the heavy front-engine front of the Mercedes, I would say.
Yeah, and also you have to remember as well, the Mercedes, given the front engine car, can take curbs pretty strongly, so they don't have to worry about the undulations coming down into turn 6, and as well as some of the stronger corners here, like turn 7, turn 8, turn 9. So they definitely have an edge there. But for the rest of the grid, such as turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4, you can see Tombstone here having a sizable gap. But Plasma, given the barrier setup and the barrier downforce, is catching up mid-corner, but unfortunately, with their ability to take the corner entry, that's definitely compromised them, and they definitely have issues having a good run, as we have Tombstone right in front of them.
Yeah, but yeah, Petty now catching them on the rear of the car, just going out on the mid. There seems to be a chance for Plasma to have a bit of a look into the corkscrew corner here. Again, it's going to be a poor launch from Plasma. A better launch from Plasma going up into this main straight. That's going to be then going side by side into this big important corkscrew corner right here. That's going to be Plasma now up on the inside, and Kyoto Tombstone on the outside. But again, it's going to be then going side by side now through turns 9 and 10 with Tombstone now forced to take out the inside, but now it's going to be then on the inside line back again here for turn 10. Again, Plasma just barely trying to cling on to the inside here. They're still going to be going side by side going into the last final turn 11 corner here. But again, it's just forced them, but it seems like Tombstone managed to just close the door here. But again, Plasma is just hanging on. Now then, both of them going side by side through this important acceleration zone into the Andretti hairpin into turn 2. That seems like Plasma's finally being able to get the move to stick after finding them so hard. But again, Tombstone making a big set into the braking zone into turn 2. He's just trying to hang around on the outside, but that's not going to be happening. Plasma's finally able to get the move and get back up into the lead of the race.
And just like that, Plasma's going to have their wings stretched out, but it's not over for Tombstone just yet. There's still P2 to fight for, and with Plasma in front of them, they're going to either have a big toe or they're going to try to get a move on Plasma again, just to keep both of them ahead and away from the two of them. But as you can see here with that fight, almost half a lap side by side has caused them basically 2 seconds. And KD right now, the gap between the gap is already 4 seconds between the two of them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they stretch their wings and get away here. Walkman has a big bunch of traffic in front of them with RK, Fez, and Josiah currently in P4. Strong run for Josiah. But as you can see here, it's going to be a very long climb for Walkman, especially with how big and how strong the grid is in front of them. It's going to have... they have to think about where they want to overtake us here. Almost to the back of RK here in the corkscrew. So very interesting to see, and we're looking forward to see how Walkman gets through for all these guys.
It seems like something has happened to Robbie Kelly, who lost him 2 positions in the race here. Now down trying to fend off that advance from Walkman right behind. Let's see if we can catch a quick peep and see what exactly had happened to Robbie for them to lose that position here. It seems like, yeah, they were going side by side into this corner here just after the corkscrew through turn 9 and 10 here. I think there may have been a bit of an off-track moment from Robbie Kelly for them to lose position. They're going to have to watch them a bit closer. Ooh, just barely squeezing them by here. And it seems like Robbie Kelly just trying to fight so hard for that position going through turn 9 and 10. Lost them actually effectively 2 positions with now also Fox right behind them, also managing to get just past them. So an unfortunate mistake from Robbie caused them to lose 2 positions in just a couple corners.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Arcade will still be happy with +1 on the grid on their name, but definitely still a fight to not let go of. As you see here, they're still pretty close to each other, and with this pack still so tight, anything could happen if any mistake does happen. As you see here, Klaus, is that still a missing rear bumper for them? No, that's not. Oh, that is a missing rear bumper. What has happened with Klaus? But they are still going strong here at P14. They're gonna have a pretty hard climb back. I think they just didn't. I think they didn't repair at all from the incident at the start. So I think they just feel confident in the car. But unfortunately, they do have a compromised run with how damaged the rear end is for their first stint. They might think about coming down closer to the half-hour mark, pit in as soon as possible, using that fast repair to get a better car, and then slowly climb back up. But for now, it's going to be a very damaged Huracan coming up the grid.
It's going to be damage limitation for Klaus here, but it's going to be more damage limitation for Walkman here, not having a peek up into the rear of the Roy 296, up into turn 2 here, then making a big set into that car. It's going to be another position loss for Robbie Kelly. Now sliding down the field here, not back up into the original P7 position here, but Robbie Kelly's just not giving up that position easily. They're trying to get back up into the rear bumper of that Corvette, ahead of them, hoping to get a better run, perhaps into turns 4 and 5 here, but it seems like they're not able to get that run just like enough here. We also see the cars of Fox and Josiah Waski just getting away ahead of them, and it seems like with that big set into turn 2, there's going to be a position gain for Walkman, again hoping to get back up into the position they were hoping for, and maybe get back up into the fight for Plasma, because currently with Plasma with such dominant lead at the moment, I think with this kind of result here, they're going to be clinching this championship with only 1 more race scored. Actually, we do see another opening happening between Plasma, and indeed, it was actually Plasma losing the position again to Tombstone here. Let's kind of see if we can see on the replay what exactly had happened between them. It may have been with a back mark here. Let's have a quick check on the replay. I'm not quite sure. It's going to be them going down the corkscrew. Yes, it was actually the car of, I think that's the Porsche of Freya here, getting right in front of Plasma on the corkscrew at the very critical moment of the track here, which gave Klaus the, Tombstone the ability to just slide past them and get back up into the lead of the race here. So again, as we were mentioning in the chat here, it's this traffic that can really mess up your run here if you're not careful.
Yeah, I think with that run as well. Oh, what happened to Plasma? Oh no, them and Tombstone have spun, and I think Plasma just waiting out for Tombstone for the unfortunate event. But yeah, I was gonna say they might have had a slowdown for cutting the corner at Tombstone at Corkscrew. Both strong sportsmanships right now, but it's just like that. Katie has taken the lead for P1 right now. Oh, unfortunate for them. Oh no, they spun because of the driver in front. That's unfortunate. Katie now in P1 as the two of them continue to fight for positions here.
Yeah, I think it was the exact same lap traffic car that caused Tombstone and Plasma to lose those positions. That's going to be actually Katie Timberfox inheriting the lead of the race here after that unfortunate spin from the leading 2 cars here. That's going to be a very interesting recovery fight now for Plasma, with now Fox and Tombstone in their own fight going up and down into the corkscrew corner here, hoping to gain another couple of positions here. With I think there could be some damage. I think. Did I just see Plasma going off the track here? No, I was mistaken. Yeah, I was a bit wrong here. But it seems like there could be a bit of damage on that Lamborghini as well after that hit with Plasma's Mercedes here. So this could be a good opportunity for RK, for Plasma, and for the other drivers here to maybe get up into some good positions.
Yeah, Tombstone now immediately in the pits. I think they're trying to get their fast repair down and really get their tires and their fuel set. So it's going to be interesting to see what pit strategy they have. They are not required to change the tires, but given that you have some spins, you might want to get a couple of tires changed up. But for now, Plasma going strong, trying to get back any sort of positions they can, as they are right now at the back of Fez. But Fez, being Fez, they'll definitely put out a very strong fight. But Plasma is going to have a stronger pace here. So we'll see how these two end up. For now, though, your leading driver is Katie, and Josiah, the highest they have been this entire season, is now in P2.
It's going to be a very close fight for Plasma. Already caught up right into the bumper of that McLaren ahead of them, hoping to get back up to the position to hopefully challenge for Tombstone. Yeah, with Tombstone having to fix some damage with the corner for that very early pits, that might give the position back to Plasma here. Now Plasma getting a better run up into turn 6, heading now into the corkscrew. I think that might be the position lost for Perez. Oh, it's going to be a bump on the side of that McLaren. So a bit of a bullying move from Plasma to get up into the position here, but no harm, no foul. Both of them seem to be okay here, but a very bold move from Mercedes driver to get up into the podium position again.
Yeah, that is definitely a strong move by Plasma. Fast might want to have a word with them, but it is racing. Gladly that both drivers are pretty safe, but for now, Plasma's just gonna likely have Faz in the dust, and Faz is gonna keep at it just to make sure they can get away from RK right behind them as Plasma continues to fight in front. But KD currently setting a 123.7. Plasma's last lap was a 123.0, so Plasma is definitely a second a lap faster in this whole thing. So we might see them right back of Josiah in a few laps time.
Yeah, it's gonna be Katie, definitely Katie and Josiah both being in the hot seat with now a very fast and probably a very angry Plasma right behind them, eager to get the positions back here. So it's gonna be probably could be down to the pit stops here because we are almost at the halfway mark of our race here. So it could be down to an optimal pit stop strategy, enabling Plasma to get maybe a good undercut to get ahead of the field here. But we're gonna have to watch and see what's happening here. That's just gonna be down to these two drivers. So I think we saw something happening between Pesquetti. Pesquetti's going unusually slow here, so I'm not quite sure what happened here. I think they may have had some off-track moment here. Let's see if we can catch up on the replay to see what exactly had happened. They're
Let's
going
see
just
here.
after turn 2 here. I think that was also the car of Undone Burstful right behind them going up.
Oh no.
That's a very weird spin from Pesquetti going up into turn 3 that cost them a lot of time here, but car seems to be fine at least.
Yeah, I think it's just that a pretty hard snap on the brakes for the Mercedes and a pretty high rake caused it, given that the Mercedes usually is a bit of an understeer machine here. You definitely need to rake the car high up a little bit and make the car a bit more lively, and that has basically narrowed down the margin of error that you can do on the car end. Given that we are 25 minutes into the race, some drivers might start to have some fatigue, and when bad habits start to happen, that's when you get cars start to slide around. As you see Walkman also sliding around, coming to turn 10. They definitely want to push as hard as they could, coming down to get back all the positions that they lost at the start of the race.
Yeah, but it seems like Walkman may have just done a pit stop. Let me double check from my standings. So yes, indeed, it was both Walkman and Tombstone who have just completed their pit stops here. Now they're both just going going back to back here on this racer, hoping to get up past the Plasma, perhaps Josiah, or perhaps even Katie here if they can get back up on their recovery drives here. And I don't think anybody else has done their pit stop so far besides Klaus and Xavier right at the back here. And also we have Zeem and Freya also completing their own regulation pit stops here, getting back up into the race. So it seems like around the halfway mark here, everyone's starting to spread here. So and with no rate on the radar here, it seems to be just down to choosing when to pit stop, when to get some potentially fresh tires here and get back up into the race.
Yeah, and if for those unaware here for the pit strategy, as I said previously, you are with the amount of fuel that you're refueling, you can get up to 2 free tires to change without compromising your lap time. So drivers have to think carefully which two tires they want to swap out. Some of the drivers that have spun out might think about changing the rear tires, but for some, given that there is a lot of right-handers on this track, we might have a swap off the left tires, or if they feel like their right tires are the ones getting abused a bit more, they might swap out their right tires. So it's gonna be interesting to see how things go. Or some drivers might just say, why change? Might just leave all the 4 tires intact, but that's gonna compromise their lines later on in the race. So it's gonna be interesting to see how some of the drivers end up.
Yeah, speaking of compromise, we're going to be seeing a fight happening between, I think it's going to be the cars of Fabio and Tombstone and Pesquetti going up into the braking zone of turn 2 here. Pesquetti seems to just concede the position here because Pesquetti has not done their pit stop yet here, so it's not going to make much sense for them to fight hard for this position here. And Walkman right behind them probably going to be letting them by as well. But we're going to have to go back up into the fight for the top 3 here because we do see Plasma has caught up into the rear of Josiah Woski, now less than a second away from the fellow Mercedes driver ahead of him. And it's going to be just now down to the race car of these 2 cars here to see if Plasma can get past them, because there's not going to be any difference in the car's performance. They're both driving the same Mercedes. There's going to be down to Plasma just sending that car harder, getting the slipstream, and getting those corners nailed just right to get past their fellow Mercedes driver.
Yeah, as you see here, before they crossed the line, the previous lap 123.29 and Plasma being a 122.45, a very big pace difference between the two of them. But right now, as you can see, already side by side coming out of turn 1, And coming to turn 2, I think Josiah might still have a fight for Plasma, but Plasma already covered on the inside line, so that might have it covered. If not, they're gonna have another fight on turn 3, but now Josiah thinks better of it, slots behind Plasma, and maybe think about having a toe from Plasma and maybe learn their lines just so they can get closer to KD. And I think Josiah knows that their fight is for KD and not for Plasma, as Plasma already gapping them at turn 4.
Yes, indeed. It wasn't much of a challenge for Plasma to get past the Josiah's Mercedes here. And that's going to be now down to Katie Fox now with a 6-second lead of the race here so far. But it's going to be with over half of the race still yet to go. It's going to be Katie probably sweating bullets here on this track here. Hoping to get as fast as possible, stay in the lead for as long as possible here before Plasma can catch up to them. And hopefully maybe at least keep her P2 position here so far.
Yeah, so you look at the last laps that they have produced from the key drivers. We see a 22.6 from KD, 22.5 for Plasma, and Tombstone being the fastest among the three at 122.4. All drivers pushing really hard just to get to the drivers in front, but Tombstone being the one pitting first, they might have an issue with traffic in front. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with traffic as they start to slowly come up to Anton Bursbo on the timing sheet. But for now, they'll have to make sure they don't have any compromised time. So hopefully they stay safe, but at the same time, minimize their time loss behind traffic.
We saw there, but there was another new best lap record from Plasma getting a 22.2 with Katie only managing getting a 22.7 personal best here. So every second it seems to be Plasma is getting a half second on Katie Fox here. The gap has now shrunken down to 5.5 seconds here. So with that kind of pace, it's going to be about, I'd say 10 laps in this kind of pace before Plasma catches up to Katie here, barring any mistakes here. So it's going to be just down to Katie to see how long they can hold on this lead here. And with both of them still not having done their pit stops here so far, that could also make an interesting mix into this fight here to see who's going to be getting ahead of them in this fight here.
Yeah, and as well as any sort of pit strategy challenges, because some drivers might forget to only swap two tires, and that might cause some unwanted effects on their grip positions. But for now, Tombstone can fight pretty hard with Walkman. I think both of them know that this is a fight for actual positions, but does Tombstone want to fight hard with Walkman, or the two of them want to just be the back of each other just so they can have a fight with Plasma later on? I think that's a talk with the two of a negotiation they have to do without talking to each other on the grid. Both drivers have pitted have done their pits for fuel, so it's going to be actual positions, but both of them also want to fight to make sure that they stay within Plasma's striking range. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two of them fight. In terms of lap times for the two of them, Tombstone did a 124.6, I assume, due to traffic, but Walkman did a stunning 122.74. So both are still trading blows in terms of lap times. I think it's going to be a negotiation that the two of them have to do. But Walkman doesn't want to negotiate, coming down into the final corner, currently compromising the two of them, coming down side by side into the final straight, but Tombstone ahead of them, coming down into turn 1.
Yeah, there was a bit of a switchback move going into turn 11. He hoped to get past Tombstone's car here, going up towards turn 11 here. But Tombstone was able to get that. Hold on. A bit of a tap here coming up from Walkman into the rear bumper of that Lamborghini. Unfortunately, they did not have any incident from that, but Walkman is certainly very eager to get past the Lamborghini ahead of them, get up into the proper positions again here. And Tombstone is not definitely putting up a defense here, making sure to spread out their wings and going a bit off track here on the exit of turn 4 here to keep themselves ahead of the car behind them. And going back into this fight here between Plasma and Katie, it seems like Plasma is still gaining up even faster on Katie here, with now Katie going up across the finish, and that's going to be, let's see, a 22.6 from Katie, and with a couple seconds behind on Plasma, they're also going to be getting another personal best, a 21.8, so almost a second faster on Katie. So they are definitely on a charge here at the moment and hoping to get as close as possible to Katie before. I think they're going to try to make an overtake before the pit stops at this rate.
They definitely can. They definitely will. But now the other question is, will the fuel in that tank be enough for it, or will the tires hold? Currently, Plasma setting times faster than he has ever set before in this session. Definitely is pushing the absolute limits on the tire, and that will raise the question of, will the tires hold? You can only push so much on the car. I know Plasma is pretty strong in terms of managing the tire temp as well as the tire life, but there's only so much you can do physics-wise to make sure that they don't overheat, as Plasma tries to extend every single track limit as they could. You get 25 incident points this race before you get penalized, so you definitely want to, if you want to use them, you better use them now, less then getting called for a slowdown. So Plasma is going to utilize all 25 if they could. But for now, Plasma is pretty strong in getting the lead.
It seems like looking at these lap time deltas here, with almost every lap they'd be able to gain at least half a second or even almost a full second here going lap after lap here. Now with again Katie, Fox and Plasma completing another set of laps here, you can already see in the horizon, Plasma can already see Katie, so that Lynx is definitely has their eyes trained on the McLaren ahead of them. Actually, it's going to be almost equal lap time here, so I think Plasma's been slowing down a little bit here. The gap is starting to neutralize a little bit, and we're going to have to see, maybe perhaps it could be the tire starting to wear out here. It could be because Plasma has been pushing so hard to try and catch up into the McLaren of Katie, Fox ahead of them. They've been losing a bit of that tire life from them, and that's why they're slowing down slightly.
Yeah, definitely a lot of factors to think about, but I think at the end of the day, it's still the car is still on benefiting Plasma. Katie is still the prey in this two interactions, so it's all in Plasma's hands in terms of calling the shots. But Katie could definitely upset it by just making sure they get consistent lap times. And at the end of the day, we might see Plasma maybe having a crack in their plans, but for now, he's going to be looking very close, as we see here Aspirit fighting for position with Inigo Lopez, Suzuka right now coming down to turn 5. Two pretty strong drivers here with one Mustang, one Corvette, two American cars, American muscle. One's a mid-engine, used to be a front-engine Corvette, but with the C8 being introduced, it's now a mid-engine car now. Both driving pretty strong here in Laguna Seca. Pretty good run this time around for Aspirit, as they had a pretty hard time in VRR last week, so good to see them fighting position down in P6, but they definitely want more positions, and both drivers having 7 and 8 positions gained throughout this whole race, but definitely more positions to gain for both of them.
Well, do keep in mind that both Inigo Lopez and F-Spirit have not done the pit stop. Actually, it's going to be F-Spirit now diving into the pit stop here to do their pit stop, with Robbie Kelly also doing their pit stop ahead of him. So I think after these pit stops are complete, it's going to be them stepping down a couple more positions down the grid here. And also going back into the fight here, we now see Plasma almost 1.5 seconds behind of Katie Fox here at the moment here. So Plasma's again able to pick up another couple of tenths here on each lap here. You can already see, I think Katie's starting to sweat a little bit here, because they're going to be seeing, again, they're going a little bit wide into the exit of turn 6 here. Losing a bit of time now going towards corkscrew. So I think they're definitely feeling the pressure now. They can definitely see a Plasma in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, they might tell themselves to not think about it, just drive, not think about it to drive, but your body's going to start sweating. You're going to start thinking about planning about where to do the defense. Maybe think about, actually, you know what? Now's the time to just dive in the pits. We are past the 30-minute mark, so you can only stay out for so long. But for now, Plasma might even think about maybe not having the overtake done here. You might compromise a second or two being behind Katie here in front, but why do that when you could just get into the pits and just get fresher tires and better, more fuel? You might as well just get a better run on the exit. But for now, Plasma, the gap is closing in now already within a second behind Katie, so definitely starting to get the toe on the car. So it's all about maximizing his run before the pit and before coming into the pits for his fuel.
Absolutely, indeed, and with Plasma able to catch up so close to the rear bumper of Katie Fox here, I think by the time that Plasma and Katie go into the pits here, Plasma might get the advantage in getting a better undercut on the McLaren ahead of him and get past him without even having to fight for a McLaren position here. So that, I think the best thing that Katie can do here is try to match Plasma's strategy here, where if Plasma pits, Katie also pits, to try and keep their leading here. Because I think if Plasma can get the advantage of getting an undercut on Katie, I think that might be race over for them. We can already see them getting closer and closer now on the main street, on the back street here towards the corkscrew corner here, inching ever so slightly closer here. And this might work to Katie's advantage here if they can just keep Plasma behind them. Because again, it's not going to be that difficult to overtake cars on Laguna Seca here. So if Katie can just keep their head cool here and hold off that advance from the Mercedes, they might just have the chance at a win here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things go, but both drivers still not in the pits. Now 37 minutes have passed. They both are going to run out of fuel anytime soon. I'm not sure how much fuel they have brought onto the grid, but both definitely do not have enough fuel for the end of the race. So it's going to be interesting to see where Plasma ends up next lap, or maybe a few laps to go. But right now the gap is closing in now, closing in 3 tenths, 4 tenths, coming down to turn 2. So Katie definitely could see them right on their rearview mirror right now. Big Mercedes grill right there. But will that crack? Will that cause them to crack under pressure as Katie starts to slide a little bit? Tires are definitely showing their age, trying to show their temperature. Both drivers are going a little bit wide, so KD definitely trying to defend as much as possible as here. A little bit narrow of a line just to make sure that Plasma does not go for a dive for now. But with that going on, KD might have start seeing some compromised time in their lap times. But it's gonna be both drivers staying within margin for turn 6 and turn 7 coming to the corkscrew. Both pretty close, but Plasma still not close enough for a dive. And right now, 2/10. Do you think the overtake's gonna happen in 2 laps time?
And there's not going to be much fuel left in these two cars here, so they're going to have to think about the pit stop soon here.
No.
You can already see Plasma almost kissing the rear bumper of that McLaren ahead of them. And again, another lap around the track, and still both of them not going to the pits here. So I think both of these cars have the same idea. They want to stay up for as long as possible here. Get as little fuel as possible here to maximize their advantage going up into the last stint of the race here, with only about 21 minutes of the race left to go here. And it's going to be a tight fight here because the pit stop times are not going to be as equal as in ACC, for instance. So depending on how much fuel you have used during the race here, and if you opt to choose to get new tires or not, that might actually make your pit stop times here different. This could work either to KD's or Plasma's advantage here. So it's going to be all to play in this pit stop strategy here, unless Plasma can get that move just done right here in one of these corners here. Plasma's getting really close now to the McLaren. I think they're going to be having a peak now and turn 5 here into an outside swing here, but it's not going to be quite enough. Plasma has to stop right behind that McLaren again here, but they are definitely working hard to get past them.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, they have a lap traffic in front of them, so it's going to be interesting how they negotiate the lap traffic coming down to the corkscrew, and Plasma runs wide because of all this. But will they able to get past Zizors before the corkscrew? Yes, they do. Plasma already, because of the compromised line, maybe having a incident point put on their name, has slowed down a little bit. For now, the gap is now relaxed a little bit for KD, 4/10 up. But Plasma might think, you know what? Screw this. Let's go into the pit so that you can get a breath of fresh air coming down to the next few corners. As no, KD's the first one to budge and coming down into the pit lane. So it's going to be up to, it's close, Plasma to have an overrun. Not sure if KD has caused some damage, but with fast repairs available, that won't be a problem for them, as Plasma's going to try to get an overrun on KD.
We also see Fess Fox and Josiah Foskey behind in the background also going over their pit stop.
Oh
and
my
I think
God.
that's going to be everyone else now competing with the pit stop, save for Plasma right at the back here. So now it's going to be down to see if KD can get that perfect pit stop here to get there. I do think they're going to be getting on some new tires as well. We see the jacks coming up here.
Tires.
So it's going to be new fresh tires here. So it's going to be now down to see if... yeah, that's going to be KD done. Now going up out all the grid here. So it's going to be down to Plasma to see when they're going to be going to the pit stops here. And if they're going to be opting to have some new tires on their car.
Yeah, I was coming back here. There's only one driver before this that didn't come into the pits. That's Suzuka, Inigo Lopez, now finally back into the pit. So it's going to be the last driver here, and everyone has pitted for fuel and tires if possible. Plasma now coming down into the corkscrew. Seeing Zizors again. That's not Zizor, that's Zim again, maybe. Coming down into the corkscrew. It's the last driver outside of the fighting chances in front that hasn't pitted. So I'm not sure how many laps Plasma has before their pit stop. Likely they might want to do a pit stop here just to cover their undercut, but no, Plasma is still out here trying to go for another run, as they see here coming bound to the back of, is that Klaus in the Hurricane. I don't think Klaus is happy that they are so far down, but it is their circumstances right now, so all they can do is climb pretty hard. But now, given their incident at the start of the race, now currently strongly in P11, they might still have a few positions left to climb here, but Plasma behind them might be being shown the blue flag here soon, and Klaus might have to start thinking about conceding their positions, or Plasma might just think about pitting to get by, just to get the traffic away from them.
I think what Plasma is trying to do here is just trying to stay in clean air for as long as possible here, because if they had tried to match KD's strategy of going into the pit stop at the same time, they would also be coming out of the pit stop, of the pit's exit at around the same time here. But now, with only a couple of back markers ahead of them, that could be a chance for Plasma to just stay in clean here, get ahead of them, and get an overcut on KD Fox here going to the pit stop, because KD is still not going that fast. They only had a 43.5. Oh, it's going to be a pick-off moment here from Plasma. So Plasma going up into the exit of turn 6 here. So it's going to be a challenge for Plasma to hopefully stay ahead of them. But I think what they want to be doing is just get as many fast laps here as possible before they kind of go dive into the pits and hopefully get the overcut on KD.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of fast laps, there's a reason why Plasma didn't pit in last time. The last lap they did was 121.75. They do have time still within the tires, but now Plasma said, you know what, that's enough. Let's get into the pits. And with that, they might just be able to be staying in front of Katie as they come into the pits. Will they take tires? Like I think they will take tires. Maybe not all of them. That will be a very pretty big incident for them if they do. But for now, I got a feeling that Plasma is going to take 2 tires, as we see here coming down into their box. Will they jack up? They will not jack up. They're just getting fuel. They're not getting tires. So there's going to be a different strategy from KD. So it's going to be interesting how their tires going to hold up. KD having fresher tires on one end is going to maybe be beneficial for certain corners. But for now, both coming down into the back straight. Will Plasma come out into the pit lane? They do. And will they be able to make it for turn 2? As we see here, Plasma coming down strongly into turn 2 on the inside pit lane. But KD on the outside, I think that's covered. Plasma already out into turn 2 and coming to the center 3. So KD already lost position 2 from Plasma.
Yes, it seems like that strategy worked just perfectly for Plasma. Being able to get those fast laps in clean air gave them just enough of a gap here to stay ahead and get into the lead of the race here without even having to challenge KD for the position here. So it's a good strategic thinking from Plasma to inherit that lead here. But despite KD losing that P2 position, I think they're pretty happy with this result here because they started from P4 and they were quite a ways away here from Klaus and from Walkman, and I don't think they're going to be complaining about a P2.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I think the one that will be pretty miffed about this whole thing will be Tombstone, starting out being able to be in front of Plasma fighting position. Now, unfortunately, have to fight positions with Walkman. They do have the faster time, so maybe within the 20 minutes that we have remaining here, might have a run on KD. But as you can see here, Laguna Seca not the easiest track to overtake, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they navigate this entire situation when things come out. But right now, they have a Mercedes right now, a back marker in front of them. So still with Walkman behind them, they definitely want to make sure that they have as little compromise as they could coming down into the remaining 15 minutes into this race as they try to catch up into KD at P2.
Absolutely, and with Tombstone also losing that position to KD and Plasma ahead of them, they're also going to have to contend with a fight with Walkman behind them. So then having to take those defensive lines to keep Walkman behind is going to be slowing them down even more. So this might be the opportunity lost for Tombstone to get up into the fight for P2 again here. And we do see KD Fox has been able to cling right into the rear, right into the slipstream of Plasma from these main acceleration zones here. And so if there's going to be a mistake happening from Plasma towards the end of the race, that could be a chance for KD to get past them. But that's going to be unlikely, especially coming from the professional esports driver here.
Yeah, but you can see here the lap times from the last lap times that they have set 142.812. That's from Plasma, but that's out from the pit lane. But 122.6 from KD, 122.7 from Tombstone, and 122.6 from Walkman. All comparable lap times. And unless one of them catches lap traffic or has an incident, I think that the times here are pretty sad as they are pretty much neck to neck.
It seems to be just the fight for this final spot on the podium here between Tombstone and Walkman here. Now both of them going down into the last corner of turn 11 here. Walkman hoping to get that bit of launch into the main acceleration zone here. Get that slipstream. They've been inching ever so slightly closer to that Lamborghini ahead of them. And we also see a bit of a back marker fight happening. I think it's Westbox going to pass another back marker. I think that's going to be the car of Anton Berespo, yeah. Going up into turn 2 here and hope to maybe catch up a stray podium shot here from Walkman and Fabio. Because we already saw that with both Tombstone and Plasma fighting really hard for that lead of the race here. There could also be another chance where if they get caught up with another back marker, there may be another incident, and Fastbox is going to be right there ready to collect that position.
Yeah, Fastbox might want to be closer though. Right now the gap is about 2 seconds. Definitely a bit bigger than the gap between Tombstone and KD, but 2 seconds might, if we do see Tombstone and Walkman having a fight, that might have Fastbox being closer, but for now, they're just going to sit patiently behind just in case Walkman has a very strong dive on Tombstone, maybe down into the corkscrew or maybe down into turn 11. That though both has happened in the past this race, but they might have to think better of it. As you see, KD suddenly in front of Plasma. What has happened with Plasma there? Right now the gap has got down to the 3/10. What the gap definitely has caught up. Plasma might have either got caught up with traffic or might have had a slowdown as they come into the corkscrew. But you see here, the Mercedes with the worn tire is starting to slightly struggle, coming down into turn 1, the back straight. 24.3 was the time that Plasma has gone, so definitely has something happened coming down. KD has a look on the inside, but definitely. It's not enough. Plasma, aware of them, now just focuses on keeping their head down and setting faster lap times.
It seems like the gamble of not pitting for fresh tires in the pits are maybe costing Plasma quite a lot of time here because we had a bit of a connection issue with Katie losing them for a moment. But yeah, with Plasma not opting to get those fresh tires here, this could work into Katie's advantage here with about 12 minutes of the race left to go here. If Plasma's tire life ends up wearing out too much and they're going to be losing too much time here, this could be a chance for Katie to have another peak here. We already saw them. The gap was used to be about a second and a half here at some point, but then a mistake from Plasma lost all of that time, and now it's going to be down to half a second, or 3 and 4 tenths here, now going up into the corner here. So I think if Katie Fox can stay behind the Plasma's car here, they might just force another mistake from the Mercedes and just get past them again that way.
Yeah, as you see here, Katie's stronger on the corkscrew as well. Wonder if Plasma might have gone a bit too greedy at the corkscrew, giving themselves a slowdown, as we see here. But just on the back-to-back itself as well, you can see that Katie already gained a tenth on that corner itself, as we see Klaus here trying to get a move on Aspirit, the bigger Mustang blocking the view of the Lamborghini. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two fight for positions. But as we walk back into the car in front, Katie right now already less than 3 tenths on Plasma, so definitely interesting to see the two of them. Lap time's a bit slow though, as you see here, 23.1, as the back here, Fabio and Walkman both saying 22. So this is going to show that Tombstone might have a chance of fighting Katie in front. So it's going to be, the fight for P2 has not died down just yet. They have 10 minutes remaining. If the Plasma and Katie have an incident, they might just invite Tombstone, Walkman as well as Fast, all coming back up into the fight for P1.
Yes, indeed. We're also seeing this fight developing between Klaus Steierman and F-Spirit for the final of the top 10 positions here, with Klaus hoping to get that bit of run up into the Mustang on this main straight here. But I think it's going to be the power of that Mustang V8 helping them to keep a gap on the Lamborghini head. We do also see that rear bumper fixed on the Lamborghini, so they may use that fast repair to their advantage to get back up into the race here. Unfortunately, they've been losing quite a few positions here. One of the losers of this fight here so far, but they're trying to limit that damage as much as possible here. They're also getting a good run up into turns 2 and 3 here, hoping to get another run up into the turn 4 acceleration zone here, trying to get as close as possible here. But it seems like F-Spirit's able to just stay ahead of them using the brunt of that Ford Mustang here to keep the Lamborghini behind them, and it's going to be an interesting fight here for sure. It's going to have to watch them if they can get close up in their zone here. And we also actually, is that Vest Fox driving the pit lane? That is indeed Vest Fox driving the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what's happened here. If they had like an off-track moment or something else. Let's see if we can have a replay to see on what exactly had happened. Why so far? Oh, they had an off-track moment here and just sliding into the fibers. Oh, that's going to be a big hit on that McLaren. And that's going to be definitely an orange meatball flag here thrown for them. That's why they drove into the pits and used that fast repair. So an unfortunate mistake from Vest. They went a very promising P4 run here. Now it's just going to be tumbling down the order here to get their car fixed.
Yeah, but I'd say, despite the minimal practice from Fast, they are taking the quick fast repair though. Glad they are still doing well currently on the exit for P8. They are still within top 10, so definitely still fighting for positions. As you see here, they might be fighting for a position with Suzuka now, currently 3 seconds behind Fast Fox. But it'll be unfortunate for them, but they're still in the race, so there's still definitely more points to get. As you see here, the fight for P1 is KD and Plasma now. The gap is now 4 tenths. Unfortunately for KD, might have expanded the extra lap benefit they have for the fresher tires, but for now, less than 10 minutes remaining for the two of them. It's going to be interesting to see how they fight for remaining 9 minutes.
And what does he? We also see a bit of lap traffic coming up ahead of Plasma as well, so this could be another opportunity for Katie to get slightly past them, because it was indeed lap traffic that caused Plasma that one tiny bit of slowdown here, and that gave the opportunity for Tombstone to get right past them. It does seem like that's going to be the car of, I think that's the car of Biscotti here, just letting the two leading cars by here, so that's not going to be an issue with them. But the Vex is a little bit further up ahead of the field here, and that's not going to be, there could be a possibility for them to also get past them, to also slow down these leading cars here and give another chance for Katie to make a move.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how traffic might affect the two of them, as you see just now, as you said, Pascading lagging the two of them by. But we have seen Plasma cracking slightly under pressure when there is traffic as well. So it's not out of the question that some traffic might cause some incidents. But it's going to be interesting. I see Katie might have a move then to cross through. I'm not sure if that's an actual move or they might have misjudged their brakes, but that has definitely caused Plasma to have a defensive line that has compromised the two of them on the run for turn 9 and turn 10. But right now, KD 2/10 behind Plasma. The move might happen if they keep it at it. Maybe ascend down into turn 11. The time is ticking. 7 minutes remaining as KD is on the bumper of Plasma, but does not see a window opening. But has a very big move side by side coming down into the final straight here. But does not have enough grunt as the Mercedes starts to gap away from the McLaren in front. Definitely a more compromised line. But KD might be stronger on the brakes here coming down turn 2. Will they make a send? They do not. Oh, stronger, closer, but not enough for a move down to turn 2, and the fight continues on.
It seems like Plasma's really starting to struggle with those wearing out tires here on the Mercedes, and it's going to be down. Another dive here coming up from KD to turn 3 here, having a bit of a peak here, but Plasma able to hold on their lead here so far, but it seems to be a battle of survival for Plasma with only about 6 minutes of the race to go here. It's all going to be down to KD just applying that pressure, hoping to capitalize on the wearing out tires of that of that Mercedes behind them, hoping to keep up their lead here, but it's going to be just Plasma probably actually going to be enough. Plasma sweating bullets here, hoping to hold on to the lead for as long as possible here with a very strong McLaren right behind them, ready to capitalize on any mistake he might be doing.
How the tables have turned. Now the hunted is Plasma. It used to be Plasma hunting down everyone. Now so Plasma's going to be really fighting for it. They're going to be glad they have competition this time around, but KD is not letting anything go by right now, but the gap is closing down. Will KD have another send on the next run? Maybe not. They are better on the brakes on certain corners, so they definitely want to take advantage of those. But with Plasma in front of them, they are getting blocked for their brake markers as well as the turning markers. So that's why you see them coming in and out of the gap. So they definitely have to think about ways to make sure that they don't get compromised and slowly start to creep out. As you see here, Tombstone already closing in on P3, currently 3 seconds is the gap. So they definitely want to make sure they do not have any more incidents in front, or else Tombstone might just snag the win here. As we see here, closing down into turn 2, the Hurricane. Not the Hurricane that we thought will be fighting for P3 this time around, but is the Hurricane that is fighting for a podium spot. As we see here, not sure what happened to Walkman that is now in P7. I just realized that, but now that has happened, Tombstone definitely has a breath of fresh air about worrying about pressure behind, and definitely wants to just focus on fighting for the gap in front.
It does seem like there was an incident that happened with Walkman that caused them to go into the pits here for some repairs. I think we have a replay of that. See a quick peek on that. What exactly had happened here. This is going to be now the replay with incident of Walkman here. I think. Yeah, they just went a bit too much on the exit of turn 2 here, and that caused him to lose a lot of time here. That's what caused him to lose all those positions, and unfortunate mistake for Walkman. I think they're hot on the heels of the other cars here to try and get back up into this fight here.
Yeah, given that both Walkman as well as Tombstone both pitted early, I think the tires are starting to show its age, as well as the fact that we are 5 minutes remaining to this race. The car is pretty light. You don't really want to upset the car as easily as you can do when you have a full tank of fuel. So definitely showing some instability of some of these setups, as well as the age of the tires.
Absolutely, indeed. And with only 5 minutes left, only 4 minutes left of the race left to go here, it does seem like Plasma has been able to get their pace back up into control and hope being able to make a bit of a gap here on KD Fox to keep the flint here so far. But anything can happen. There's still a couple of cars left to go here. I think there's going to be the car of Next is going to be the next car up ahead here, but I don't think they're going to be getting close enough for them to interfere with this fight here for this P2 here, for this P1, P2 fight. And I think it's just going to be down to Plasma just keeping their cool and getting that car over to the finish line. They don't have to have the absolute best piece possible here. They just need to be keeping their car in one piece and keep KD behind them.
Yeah, with an estimate 3 laps remaining, KD's gap is starting to show. As we see here now, first time in a long while, KD, a gap between Plasma and KD, 1 second, and KD has compromised their run. That means Tombstone is closing in. 2 seconds is the gap between the two of them. Now KD has basically ditched their run for Plasma and basically is on the defense for Tombstone. Now equally gap between the car in front and the car behind. They definitely have to, clean their act up to make sure they don't lose P2 in this entire fight. As we have about two laps remaining, as we see 3 minutes remaining in this session, as the lap times are about 1:22. So we are expecting 3 laps before the checkered flag, and they definitely have to hold themselves for the next 3 laps.
Yeah, it's going to be not that much time for Tombstone to hopefully get back up into that P2 position here that they have been fighting for this entire race here. It would be a very impressive recovery drive from the Lamborghini driver here to get after getting a spinning being punted and losing that all the time here from from the fight with Plasma and getting caught up in the back market fight here. And looking at the lap times here, Katie was only able to get a 23.5, whereas Tombstone was able to get a 22.6. So if Katie Pox makes another mistake into the exit of turn 6, turn 7 here, this could be a chance for Tombstone to get up into the P2 spot here with only a couple laps of the race left to go here with everyone else on the track here so far. This seems to be our only fight left on the grid.
Yeah, unfortunately, the grid has started to settle, which is good for the commentary team. Things are not as chaotic as usually it is for Simufur's end of the race sessions. But for now, it's going to be interesting to see how KD holds that pressure, as well as how Tombstone tries to push as hard as they could. We thought the race is going to get settled down and Tombstone might just settle for P3, but with the fight between Plasma and KD, as well as the incidents that KD has had with their small runoff, this has started to heat up, and we might just see a move on KD if KD does not pick up their pace.
We're going to be watching these lap times very closely, but while that's happening here, I do think we missed an awful overtake that happened between Klaus and F-Spirit for the P10 position here. Let's have a quick look up on the replay to see what exactly had happened here. It's going to be now Klaus chasing up the rear of that Mustang going up into turn 2. It seems like F-Spirit may have just overshot their brakes quite a bit and losing the car, almost spinning out of control here. That's going to be an easy overtake for Klaus to get right past them here, but well saved from F-Spirit to keep their car on the track.
Yeah, the Mustang definitely not the easiest car to save when the rear starts to step out, but really well held by F-Spirit. They're the only Mustang driver here on the grid this time around. Unfortunately, the Mustang not that popular for this season, but it definitely has its upsides, and F-Spirit definitely able to wrangle that car when they need to.
Yes, with only about half a minute left to go on this race here, I think this next lap is going to be the final lap here for Plasmas. They're going to be now going down into this fast left out here, up into corkscrews. So I think by the time they cross the finish line, it's going to be a white flag for these cars here. That's not going to be much time for Tombstone to get past them. They're almost caught up into under a second. Yeah, now it's going to be under a second gap for Katie Fox. So this could be one last chance for Tombstone to get up past the McLaren of the of Katie Fox ahead of them. But it's going to be Plasma taking a couple more corners here to turn 10 now towards turn 11 to see if we can get that white flag flown here.
It's going to be a checker flag.
It's going to be a checker flag. Indeed, it's going to be time out here. It's going to be time out for Katie, for Tombstone. It's going to be Plasma officially crossing the finish line with an amazing recovery from Plasma. Up, I think it was down from P4 back up into the lead of the race here with some clever strategy. So congratulations to Plasma for him, and also congratulations for Katie on getting that very respectable P2 position, picking up those spots where everybody else had made mistakes. And basically just almost a flawless run from them as well.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Tombstone, but a very solid run coming down to P3. I hope they're not too dejected from what could have happened, but a very solid run from Tombstone. Other than the small incident, they have basically done zero mistakes, and they have capitalized on all the mistakes that everyone has done. And as you see here, cars start to go into the grid. Josiah, a very strong P4 for the driver. Arcade as well, pretty strong P5. Guyando in P6, maybe not the position they want to be, but it's still a very solid one when they were expecting to be lower this time around. Walkman P7, unfortunate incident for them, as well as Klaus coming in P10. But right now, Fez ending at P8, Suzuka P9, Spirit. Walkman coming down to the pits, maybe a bit frustrated. Spirit is the next car that might need to cross the line at P11. Vex at P12, Paschetti at P13, Jack Mace, P14, teammates Anton Burstboy, Hakio Itsumetsu at P16, and Zim, the last running driver on the grid, right now crossing the line at P17. And that will be the last remaining drivers that have crossed the line this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had some retirements from Xavier, Freya, and Caesar who were not able to complete the race here, so unlucky for them. But that's going to be now the end of our race. Let's going to have to take another look at the results here. Looking up on our race here, it's going to be now Plasma with a very dominant result indeed. Actually, that's the wrong result. That's going to be the qualifying result. Let's see if we can get the actual race results here at some point. What? Let me have a quick look. Yeah, never mind. We're actually going to be going right up into the, I think it's just hopefully going to be the current point situation at the end of this race. If we can just get these rolled up here quick. No, that's not unfortunately working here either. The points does not seem to have updated here, but it's going to be a very good result from Plasma. They're going to be extending that lead to Walkman quite well at the end of this race here. That could also be a possibility for them to clinch this championship with only one race left to go here. With Walkman not able to get the position here they would have wanted all the way down in P7.
Yeah, I think with some how the results have rounded up, I think the fight for P2 Walkman as well as P3 for Klaus is gonna spice things up. We have a different standing for this time around for the how the drivers that cross the line. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the grid as well as how the drivers the standings are gonna mess up start to shake up at the after P1. P1's definitely gonna be pretty much sealed for Plasma, but we still have round 6. So it's not over just yet. Things might happen. Plasma might not be available. We'll have to see. But for now, that is round 5 at Laguna Seca. Next round, we are going to be at Suzuka. Next week is also going to be the
I'm gonna have to
8
correct you.
hours
That's
of
gonna be Fuji Raceway, not
Fuji.
Suzuka.
That is unfortunate for me. But I was going to say, Fuji Raceway is going to be also on the same week as the 8 hours of Fuji. So it's going to be something that some drivers might have more practice, given that they will be just completing their run at the hours of Fuji. But for some, it's going to be the new track. I think it's going to be interesting to see how which driver has experience here. Some might be a bit fatigued from their stints in the endurance. Some might not. So it's going to be slated for a dry track, if I remember correctly, I think. But for now, that is it for round 5.
Yes, indeed. That's going to be it for round 5, but there's going to be some more GT3 racing happening in the near future here. So if you're going to be interested in that, make sure to check out our Discord server,
Wink,
simufur.gg,
wink.
where you're going to be seeing some new exciting announcements here coming up very soon. Stay tuned for that. Well, that's going to be it from everybody here at the commentary box here. A bit of a quieter race here, but a very exciting one for sure with the battles happening all up and down and left and right of the grid here. My name has been Denak, joined by Newbie here in the commentary box here, and thank everybody for being here, and we hope we will see you all here for next week for the grand finale at Fuji. Good night.
Bye.